Guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Anna. I'm a little bit spooky, and today we're going to talk about the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Luminous Matte Concealer. And we're going to do a little wear test, talk about all the claims and how it performs, what it's like, and all that jazz. So if that interests you, just go ahead and keep on watching. But before you do, don't forget to like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know some more complexion products you might be interested in. I really like to review these. It's fun to kind of deep dive, test a product, and really put it through the paces. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in to that demo footage. And we'll talk about all the claims and do a little wear test. Jumping right in with the demo, I have applied my normal skincare today, including an under eye cream, which I always do, and it's been sitting on the skin for a little while. And I'm also going to be priming my skin today with the Blurring Face Primer from L'Oreal. This is from the Age Perfect. And for foundation, we'll be using the L'Oreal True Match Nude Hyaluronic Tinted Serum because it is a foundation that I know and trust and absolutely adore. Concealer has a interesting little doe foot on it. It's got kind of a foot to it, and the packaging is quite nice, just kind of frosted. I believe plastic is what this feels like. And I do have the shade Whipped Cream, which is apparently, and I'm sure very obvious to you, quite light. Little bit too pale for me. I might have not been great at my shade selection. This did arrive to me in PR, so this came from Huda Beauty and I think Skeepers, which is formerly Octoly, for review purposes to test out. I saw it on the website and I was like, hey, I've always wanted to try that concealer. Let's give it a go. And I know it does have the contradictory name of matte and luminous in one, but I'm pretty sure that they are referring to the luminosity in a way that NARS likes to refer to luminous products, where it's not glowy, it's not shimmery or shiny or anything like that, or dewy. It's more that light diffusing property that like a lot of the NARS products do have. So the Huda Beauty Luminous Matte Concealer does retail for $31 for 9 mils, 0.30 fluid ounces, I believe is what that says. Retails for $31. It comes in 29 shades that run very, very pale. Obviously, this is pretty much white. And I don't honestly mind a concealer that light because I like to use them for underpainting and for just brightening and highlighting effect. On my very fair skin, it's hard to find concealers that are that brightening. So it's kind of fun. It's a nice thing to have in the arsenal. Yeah, but today I am applying it over the foundation just so I can show you more of a traditional application with it. But I have enjoyed using it as more of an underpainting technique. I am using a sponge with it because I think it applies really, really nicely with a sponge. It presses the product in well and picks up any excess product because this is a very full coverage concealer. It is a buildable creamy formula that can flex from medium to full coverage while it visibly brightens and conceals. Yeah, it is very, very much a creamy, kind of thicker formula, which is not usually what I go for these days in concealers. I'm more of a serum concealer kind of gal these days, or a little bit lighter coverage products in general, but sometimes it's nice to have that full coverage option just in the makeup collection for when one needs it. It's hard to find one that I particularly think is flattering on the under eyes without looking very heavy. So I'm always kind of on the quest for that perfect full coverage option. And I do have a couple of drugstore ones, which I absolutely adore, that we'll talk about in a minute. As far as this one goes, it does have that very thick, creamy texture. It reminds me a little bit of like a Tarte Shape Tapey type formula in the thickness level of it, but you can shear it out really easily and get a little bit of a lighter coverage, which is how I apply it. I'm not in it for the full coverage, hide everything on my face type of finish. I just like something that evens out, brightens, and can hide any under eye shadowy darkness. This one I do apply around the rest of the face a bit, just to kind of even things out because it is so light on my skin tone that it looks odd if it's just under the eyes. I can build this one up really well. It does build on itself nicely without getting too cakey. Unless you're just really piling it on, it's gonna get cakey, but that I think is true for any product. This is one I do like to work in thin layers and very one section at a time with because it does set down and I feel like it's just easier to start with those light layers and see where I need to build with something that is more of a full coverage product. It also says it is fragrance free, which is nice from Huda, because a lot of her complexion products, when they first were coming out, when they were newer to the market, were very much heavily fragranced, and I know that can irritate a lot of people's skin. It can irritate your eyes, and just if you don't like fragrance, it's not an enjoyable experience. Now this one has a zero fragrance, totally fragrance free, which is quite nice. I particularly do not want fragrance products around my eyes because I have very sensitive, watery eyes. So anything with a slight little bit of a hint of something coming off of it is going to burn my eyes. It also claims to be long wearing, and yes, I do agree that it is quite long wearing product. It can hang in there for you. But yeah, it's definitely very much long wearing. I feel like it looks really nice on my under eyes at the end of the day for the most part, and sits pretty well around the rest of my face towards the end of the day. I don't see any issues with it. Issues with it getting cakey throughout the day or breaking up or anything like that. As far as crease proof goes, I would say as long as you are making sure you tap out those creases before you powder, then yes, it will be crease proof, but this one will crease significantly if it is not set. Or if you take a minute or two between setting down your concealer after application, you will get some creasiness. So I found just tapping that out with my finger or with my beauty blender and then setting it down immediately takes care of that problem. It's not a big deal. All concealers will crease because we all have creases underneath our eyes. It's totally normal to have some creasing. That's just, it's an unavoidable thing. Doesn't matter how old you are. You're gonna have a little bit of creasing because we all have folds underneath our eyes. And I do have some vague fine lines going on under there and a little bit of a crease. I'm also 36 years old with combo skin that can be a little bit more on the oily side as well, which can also exacerbate a bit of creasiness because of the oils and everything. So my only caveat with the crease proof thing is just to really make sure you are tapping out the under eye, making sure you're not locking any creases in, and then you're going to get your best results from it. If you are looking for a concealer that sets down without having to use powder, say if you have drier under eyes, this is not going to be the concealer for you. This is definitely something geared more towards an oilier skin type because it is very matte and it does have the tendency to crease without going over top of the setting powder. It also claims to be made to move with you throughout the day, and yeah, it doesn't have that tight feeling or a heavy feel to it. It feels very light on the skin, whereas like I found like, you know, old school like Shape Tape and stuff that you can feel them on the skin. I feel like they're heavy. This doesn't feel heavy while still having that thicker formula and the coverage level. The thing that I do want to point out mostly about this one is that it will crease without setting it. It is definitely, I don't think, friendly for dry skin. I think if you have dry under eyes that tend to go a little bit crepey when you apply a heavier concealer or powder to it, I don't think you're going to like this concealer. I actually have kind of a bit of an oilier under eye, which I know is a little weird, and I do also prep my under eyes with under eye cream, and that does eliminate a lot of risk of things looking dry. So yeah, if you do tend to have a little bit of a drier under eye but still want that full coverage, as long as I think if you really prepped your under eyes well with a under eye cream and, you know, maybe a primer or something, you would probably have better luck. But if you really do have dry skin, I don't think you're gonna particularly enjoy this one. I don't think this one's gonna be one that mature skin really enjoys because I feel like it will settle into those creases and fine lines and just be a bit of a little bit more trouble than it's worth to blend out. I think there might be some better ones suited to more mature skin and dry skin. That being said, the coverage level is beautiful with this one. It is indeed brightening because I have a shade that is too light for me, but it has a really nice shade range, and I do like that it does run quite deep and quite pale. So that is a nice perk of it, and the fact that it is fragrance free. I don't remember this one was ever fragranced originally, but I know the foundations and stuff were, and like the powders, and I believe Huda has removed fragrance from a lot of her items now. I know the stuff she's launched newer anyways don't have fragrance. Other than that, I do think it is a fine concealer. I don't think it is like life-changing, but it does look very smooth. It does have a blurring quality to it. In the T-zone particularly, I think it looks really nice. Like in the pore area, I don't see it settling into any pores. It just kind of flows over them nicely. I don't think it gathers in creases throughout the day once you have locked it in. It does wear really well. It's just on that initial application that you do need to be a little mindful of the creasing, which is true for most concealers, especially fuller coverage ones, to be mindful of the creases. This is just one that I particularly noticed it being a little bit more prominent with, whereas some concealers it doesn't like register that much to me. Whereas this one I was like, oh, you better tap out them under eyes, girl. I think that it definitely wears well on my oilier skin days, especially. So if you have oily skin, I think this might be something you really do enjoy because it does wear very well without getting too much breakthrough shine on the under eyes or anywhere you applied it. I think this is a good one for spot concealing because it is a matte finish. It's not going to bring a lot of attention to any raised bumps or anything like that. If you get the shade that matches your skin tone exactly, you do have the capability of really shearing it out as well, which is nice. It gives it a bit more of a multi-purpose capability, which I do appreciate in a product. I like full coverage products that can be sheared out because I personally like a lighter hand with my makeup. And I don't have a whole lot that I'm trying to cover up these days, and I just don't care that much about looking completely perfect and flawless. I'd rather my skin just look like my skin. And this one I feel like just looks very, very perfected. It has that a little bit more of an Instagram filter look to it. It is very perfecting once it is set down, and I think it looks quite flawless up close. Now that I have it on and the rest of the makeup on and kind of balanced out the color issue. But yeah, I don't see it sitting in my pores or anywhere else I applied it. It looks really smooth on my under eye. And it sits really nicely around my nose, which is a very important thing to me. If something doesn't sit pretty on my nose, I'm done with it. I don't want it. And yeah, anywhere I put it on the forehead is looking nice, and it's not exacerbating any fine lines or texture once it has been set. It is looking very, very smooth, no cakiness going on here. I think it looks really, really nice, and it's a great full coverage, higher end option. All the makeup is on. Let me get in here and let you get a good look at things. So this is how it is currently looking. It's been on about 2 hours now because I've been listening to a podcast and piddling around and playing with makeup a bit. So here we are now that everything is all finished, and I do think it looks really flawless. Like, it's a good skin day, and I think the under eyes are looking great. I can still see, like my little freckle under here through it. This is the most stubborn little freckle right here. Like, the most fullest coverage products don't fully cover it for me, mostly because I don't want to cake on the product. But yeah, I can still see a little bit of freckle, but as far as like shadowiness and under eye darkness, gone. That is out of here. And things just look very, very smooth, very velvety matte finish. And I think that whole luminous quality that Huda is speaking about, or that they're speaking about with this product, is more that light diffusing, perfecting quality that, say, like a NARS product has. It's not like the Glow Wish concealer that is actually like shimmery and radiant looking. I think this is a really nice concealer. Do I think you need to run out and spend $31 on it? No, I think you can do just as well at the drugstore. Bearing in mind the shade range issue, you are getting a better shade range with this concealer than you do with a lot of full coverage concealers from the drugstore, but there are options. So a couple of them that I do enjoy from the drugstore that I feel are comparable. 3 drugstore options of concealer that I think are quite comparable in finish and appearance on the skin, depending on the shade range. I think the shade range is a little more limited on these products, so that is the drawback there. The first one would be the IRL Filter Finish Concealer, which is a soft matte concealer from Makeup Revolution. I think it's a really nice option. It has an okay shade range, not the best, not the worst, but I think it does a comparable job as far as the way it looks on the skin. And I think this is a nice full coverage option from the drugstore. The Crease 12-hour liquid camouflage is another one that's a really good option that's more affordable. Great coverage level, the same claims, the crease proof long wear, whatever. And my favorite, which is the Wet n Wild Incognito. I think this one has beautiful coverage, beautiful product all around, and I think it's quite comparable looking on the skin. Yeah, so I really don't think you need to run out and spend $31 on a concealer, because there are some decent options at the drugstore, as long as you can find a shade that works for you. And of course there are some other full coverage ones at the drugstore. There's one from CoverGirl, there's a L'Oreal Infallible one that's quite full coverage. Makeup Revolution actually has a few other more full coverage options also. I can't remember what those are called. But that being said, if you are in the market for a more high-end concealer, this is not a bad one by any means. I think it looks nice. Just make sure you do tap out them creases, because this is one I did specifically notice that with. This is definitely one that I personally couldn't get away with not powdering because of that, because the longer it sat on my skin, the deeper it was starting to crease and separate just right here at the edge of my eyes. But it wasn't anything I couldn't fix before I set it down. But overall, I do think this is a nice concealer. I don't think it's anything revolutionary or groundbreaking or life-changing, but it's a good one, especially if you're someone who does need that fuller coverage and maybe has a little bit more of an oilier skin type and likes a nice matte concealer that is pretty perfecting looking. But that being said, like I pointed out, there are some great drugstore options that are definitely comparable. But yeah, so what I'm going to do now is go about my day, and I'm going to film another video, do some editing, piddle around the house, and I'll come back to you this evening when it is time for face washing and bed and show you how it is looking. It is currently 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So I'm going to keep this on until at least 10 o'clock tonight. We'll see how it looks, but this has been on 2 hours now. And usually, lately, my luck with complexion products, about this time, things are not going well. I've definitely had some duds lately, and my face has pretty much already been melting off. so we're doing real good today. Things are looking really nice. I don't look dry. I haven't done any setting spray either, but I think things just have a nice soft matte finish to them. That kind of velvety look, but there's still a little bit of a luminosity here where I did apply highlighter, but my under eyes don't look dry. I think they look really, really nice and very smooth, brightened, perfected. Oh, I forgot to mention the powder I used today was the Halo Glow from e.l.f. to set the under eyes, because that is a favorite powder. Beautiful product. So yeah, I will see you guys in a few hours, and we will see how things are looking. So far, so good on this one, and every time that I have worn this since I got it, I've had it close to a month now testing it out. And just about every day that I've worn it, it's gone really well, aside from the day that I wore a foundation that was very much disagreeing with it. Shoot, I forgot to mention one of the best drugstore dupes before I let you go. e.l.f. Camo Concealer, the hydrating or the matte one, whichever you prefer. Very much a nice comparable option at the drugstore with a decent shade range. I would say this one probably looks a little bit more similar to the original matte camo concealer on the under eyes, which I don't have on hand. I actually prefer the hydrating one, just because I think it looks a little prettier. But yeah, e.l.f. Camo Concealer is another great option at the drugstore that will give you a very much a comparable look, feel, overall vibe that this will give you. So, okay, I will go about my day, and I'll see y'all in a little bit. Just a little bit scatterbrained, aren't I, today? Okay, hello. It is currently, let me see what time it is, 8 o'clock at night. So it's been on since 2 this afternoon. Can't remember. We're 7 hours in, roundabout. And here's how we are looking with the concealer. It still looks great. Nothing has budged as far as the concealer goes. I am shiny, but that's normal. I am a little bit of an oilier skin type, but the concealer looks like I just applied it. Like a little dusting of powder, we'd be good to go. So yeah, I do think this concealer is quite good. And that's gonna be my verdict on it. I think it's a good one. It's a solid concealer. Again, if you're more of a drier skin type, maybe you have some texture or something, you might not like it as much. It's worth maybe getting a sample, see if you like it. For my skin type and what I look for in a concealer, even though it's full coverage, I think it's a good one. It works good for me. And I think it sits really nicely on my skin. I have like a little bit right here of where things are a little messy, but that's just because I've been squinching my eyes and stuff all day. It's probably itching myself, honestly. It's probably scratching. I've been rubbing my nose all day and like allergies. But for the most part, I think it held up great. I definitely do think you can get some really good wear time out of this one. I approve. I think it's a good one. So let's try to get you some good close-ups here. I also look a little extra shiny because I just have my key light on. And those are very just straight light. I didn't turn the soft boxes that balance my lighting out. But anyway, I definitely do think this is a nice concealer. I will continue using it and enjoying it really, really well for me. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down below. Let me know any more complexion products you want to see me test out. I'll be happy to do it. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe and stay spooky.